Hello and welcome back to a new video here on the Ludwig Fusel channel in my D3D12Ez video series that we are currently transitioning to a beta framework. Now what I want to do in today's video, I want to do a bit of infrastructure code. First, I told you that we're gonna do shader loading from disk, but I think I want to do a bit of infrastructure first. Why do I want to do infrastructure first? Because I want to have a bit of logging in here, and things like that. So it's important that we start with that first, that we have logging and stuff, so it's a bit better to work. Alright, so yeah, how do I want to do it currently? We currently have a bit of a convoluted architecture in here that was basically just created to make things easy. Now I want to completely rework that. Now first of all, I'm going to create a folder util, and we're going to have utility code in here. First of all, what I want to do is first of all, let's call it logging provider, because I want to be able to do logging a bit easier and be able to do proper logging provider. How did I call it? D3D12Ez, I think, is my prefix, right? D3Ez is my prefix. Now I also want to name space that, and I want to call that one logging provider to provide a bit of infrastructure for logging with spdlog. In general, what I want to do is I want to provide the retrieval of loggers without going over the big ass logging registry. So spdlog.h is going to be the start, and that's what I want to do is, of course, I want to provide a bit of logging bootstrap code so that the logger can be set it up correctly. Now first of all, this shall be a singleton, so let's make that one the default one, actually not default, but just private. Let's delete that. The copy constructor, the copy operator, like that. And then let's do a static spdlog logger pointer. I mean, I know there was a logger pointer, sync pointer is there, but there's no logger pointer, sadly. But that's not a problem. We can define our own logger pointer. A logger is gonna be a std shared pointer of an spdlog logger, because that's how spdlog works and operates. I just gonna redefine them. Of course, if I use shared pointer, I should include memory on my own as well. Memory. There we go. And now we have this a bit bootstrapped, and now we just need actually one function. Logger create logger. And I want to create a logger with a const std string name. I think, as far as I know, string view is not supported in spdlog, and since this function will not be called very often, it's actually fine to do it like that. Alright, so then what I want to do is I actually want to have myself actually that's it. The class just needs these two functions, just the constructor and the create logger function, because basically we're going to use the logger registry of spdlog. So first of all, the constructor. I want to get the default logger, and I want to clone that logger with a new name. So the first logger that I am creating is my new logger, and I'm going to call it one D3DEs. This is kind of like my logger, or D3Ez is better. Let's create the default logger at D3Ez. Or maybe do we want to create the default logger on the app domain, that new default logger that we want to have, or maybe we want to create both. So I think we're going to start with D3DEz, and then the application can get its own logger via the create logger function. The general idea is what I want to do is I want to first get the default logger and then I want to set the default logger. And what I want to basically do is I want to override the default logger with the cloned one from the default logger. And I'm now going to basically go to my logger and I want to customize that one. Now basically has a name and I want to set things like the formatter, the level, and the pattern. These are things, no, not the pattern, but the format. Not the formatter, but the pattern is what I want to change. And I actually give it a new pattern, the logger. And what I also want to do is I want to give it a different level. Set level. And this is like all the setup code I'm going to have. And as soon as I want to create a logger, it is gonna create a new one with kind of like the default settings. Basically, if I create a new logger, default logger clone with the name, and then I have it cloned, and I can return it so that I can create new loggers from my default template. Now, if def, let's do it. If defined, this is kind of like the modern approach. D3Ez debug logger set level spd log level trace lf defined D3DEs development. Let's go to the configuration, development, logger, set level, spd log, level debug. Of course I forgot the semicolon. Then we have a else, an endif, logger, set level, spd log, level information. So now we have different levels depending on the configuration, all set it up correctly. And now the only thing that I need to do is I need to adjust the things. This is kind of like pattern that I'm setting up. This is the level. And I also want to change this to things. Logger, things clear to completely remove all things that are currently allocated. And then we're going to create new things. This is actually very simple, the general concept, but it's not that easy. Now, spd log patterns is something that I always need to take a look at. Custom formatting, pattern flags, and what I want to do, the actual text to log. This is something that we're gonna have at some point at the end. Now we can basically create ourselves the logging format. I'm not going to do thread ID currently because I think this is not required yet. We do going to have the logger name somewhere, have the time, and we're going to have the log level. Log level, date and time, name, and then the value. This is, I think, a good format. The log level. Where is it? Yeah, this color range is also a thing that I want to do, so that we have a color range for the log level. This is actually what I want to put in here. And color range. I don't like that you can only use it once, but yeah. Yeah, this is the short level, and if you think, do we want to have the short level? Maybe we want to have the short level, but maybe not. Let's first start with that. And let's do the full level first. I think I like the full level more. And then we want to have the date and the time. I want to have it in a German format, so don't worry, but it's German format, day. day of the month. We're gonna have the month. Then we're gonna have the year in 4 digits. And then we're gonna have the time, minutes, hours in 24 format because I am in Germany. Minutes and seconds is an S. Then we're gonna maybe have the 100 path of the time. Milliseconds part of the current second. I think this is sufficient. We do not need to get more detailed than that. We put them in here. Now we have the log level, the time, the logger's name, and then we have the log string. So now we have a pattern. Now we just need to set up the sinks. And what I want to have multiple sinks. And I want to have the basic file sync for logging to file. And what I want to also have, we could have the MSVC thing, but I don't think that's a good idea. I want to have the std out color syncs. And now these ones shall be attached. How do I attach these ones? Go here. Logger syncs push back. This is actually a std vector. Yeah, it is actually a vector. Std make shared spdlog syncs std color sync std out color sync empty, and we should not need to provide parameters for that. Basic file sync empty does need parameters. It needs to pass to the file. So log file path. So let's use file system. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do auto path log file equals std file system current path, so the working directory. Then I'm gonna go to the log directory. And inside of the log directory, I want to set the file name. So log file file name can be, I think, set it or just retrieved. No, it just can be retrieved. So I need to do it with that and basically provide a log file name. And I want to provide the log file name by the current datum time. I think we're gonna Google that because I'm not quite sure how it's done simply for time format. Current time to string. It's like struct time or something, but yeah, let's take a look at struct time. Problem is that I think struct time is not as easily used as you might think. Because it's also not like very safe, but there must be a C++ way of it. Yeah, struct, tm struct, right? It's tm struct tm in C time. Yeah, let's use C time for that. C time and string. Now we have fmt in here since we have spd log, so let's use fmt format.h, which if we use it explicitly, we should add it to our dependencies. Oh, I hate it. I hate the new Conan page. So dependencies, it's fmt version 10. That one. So we add it explicitly to our coordinate file since it's not a requirement. I don't know if maybe FMT directly can do time formatting. Time. RP. Date and time formatting. Yeah, let's use date and time formatting. FMT local time T. That seems good. But it needs to... No, I think I want to do... You can directly format chrono. Yeah, I think we want to do local time, right? So let's include FMT. Not quite sure if it needs chrono, if I'm not using chrono. Yeah, let's take a look at this. C time is good. And then let's go in here. Let's get the time. And let's format the local time inside of a FMT format. And then we can give it a kind of like format of the FMT format. Yeah. .log. I've compiled it now. This was not what I intended to do. FMT local. Okay, maybe it needs chrono. Interesting. So chrono is also C time on FMT. Local time. Time. And what I wanna have a yodem is, so let's call it eslog underscore yodmd, or actually the yod. And how do I use it in here? Yeah, it's exactly that. It's probably using like the same format. And let's give it hour, minute, and second. Also as a format here, HMS. And now we should have a good log format, and we can provide it in here to log file dot string. And now this hopefully compiles. Let's see if we have a problem with the constructors with the log provider. No, it seems good. All right, so log provider worked. Now we just need an instance of the log provider, because basically currently it's not constructed because it doesn't have an instance. It is a singleton but without an instance, so the constructor is never called. Static, let's add the instance in here. So let's do it in here. So now we have an instance of the class. And now we should have the logging initialized correctly when we enter main. You can try this out by including spdlog spdlog.h, and the simplest way to test it, no, not inside of pure color, inside of main, is to do spdlog info hello world. Then let's make a breakpoint here, and let's see if we get hello world and we get a log file. And if we take a look at that, we do get hello world. However, hello world is not done correctly. The format has not been applied. Has our initialization code not executed? Do we get a log file? No. Something has not gone right. Maybe. Oh. System hang. Right, is my... Hello? Am I back? It crashed. Yeah, obviously it crashed, but I don't know why it crashed that hard. That was really odd. The whole system hung. Probably it's an issue because we haven't used it, so maybe we should not put that in main. Maybe we should put a static void init logging or init in here. Maybe we'll put the code in here. Let's make that one default, and let's put the instance away, and let's make it a explicit init function, because basically it has been optimized away, right? It wasn't used, so it was not instantiated into the exe, and the setup code has not run. So we can solve it by doing it like that, and then by explicitly include util logging provider. Then we're gonna say D3's logging provider init to initialize logging, and then it should work, or make a breakpoint, or it's gonna hang again. And now we should get the correct format. Yeah, now we get the correct format. And we should also on disk get a log directory. It's currently empty because it has not been flushed. This is something that we might also want to configure on the sync, that it automatically flushes the logs, because basically this is not allowed to run now, and if I abort, it has not had the chance to emit log data. So we might explicitly want to configure it properly, even though it's not going to solve the problem that we currently have. Console auto console sync auto file sync. Or can we configure flush on the complete logger? Maybe we can configure it on the whole logger. This would be a good thing. Can I provide the flushing algorithm? Flushing logger flush on. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Logger flush on level 1. Warning is the level where it will flush automatically. That's okay, and that's basically to make it flush. We basically just need to call warn. Then we can put our breakpoint in here, and now it should also flush it to the disk. All right, let's take a look at this. Now we have the information in here. That's good. Now the only thing that's now missing is we need a git ignore in our app directory, and we're gonna say that logging is not committed to git. No logs on git. All right, so this now gives us a bit of logging infrastructure. Now I wanna add a bit of exception infrastructure, so that we can handle these a bit better. So let's add a exception.h. Let's actually add a so-called isException.h. I want to call it isException. Namespace D3is. And then we have the class isException. And isException, let's include exception in general. And I also want to have fmt format in here for exceptions. And we also want to have spdlog in here, spdlog.h, because basically we want to have the exception also being logged to the console, and I want to do this automatically with just one single class. Alright, so the exception is going to hold an std string for the message. So we also want to include string. And then what it's going to have a protected function. That's going to be called void append message, std, taking a string view, std string view text or message, because we want to append a message. And the nice thing with append message is that it's gonna auto append things. Now first of all, what I want to do is I want to implement that one. And basically what I want to do, if a message empty, so if the current message is empty, the message or my message is gonna be the message, and if it's not empty, I'm gonna append. So message is equal to add a new line to it and then add a message to it. So every call to message is going to also append a new line. And what I'm also doing is I want to report them all as exceptions. I hope string view is supported by spdlog, not quite sure. So we're going to have a error here, and what we want to basically say here is the current line exception, and then we have kind of like the current message of the exception. Maybe we can put this into these marks so that it kind of like follows the format of spdlog. So now we have kind of like an exception code, and we have the exception, and what I also want to have is an exception ID. So atomic will be included. I want to make it multi-threadable in theory. So we're going to have a static std atomic size t, AID counter, or not AID counter, AID counter, and every exception itself will have a so-called AID, the so-called exception ID, and the exception ID will be equal to the static counter plus plus. Yeah, plus plus is okay, so post increment. And now we just need to initialize that one in here. Why is there now an S in here? I think I removed the S here. D3D12Ez. Hello. There we go. SAID counter, and now we have an atomic value that will basically increment every time a new instance of this class is created, and then we have an AID, the exception ID. We could just, let's say, exception, and then inside of here we're going to provide the ID, MAID, and then we're going to have the message line. I hope it's going to, let's see if it compiles. So if it's not supporting the string view, it supports the string view, that's good. So then it's going to print the exception ID and the message as soon as append message is called. And now what I want to basically implement is I want to implement a few constructors. First of all, I do want to support default constructing. Copying is also not an issue. Moving is also not an issue. That's all good. I'm gonna have the assignment operator. It's not an issue, it's just a string and a size t. It's no problem copying the details around. Operator for moving assignment. I forgot the no except. It's also not a problem. I wanna have it in here like that. Now the only thing that I wanna now also add is I wanna add a specialized constructor with specialized arguments. And the arguments will be provided by a add detail function, and the add detail function will add details about the exception. So it will contain a char for the function in which it occurred, a line in which it occurred. So that's the idea. We have a function and a line by the add detail, or yeah, let's maybe set add detail location so that we can add detail location, add detail, and then we're going to have a add detail text or add detail description, and the add detail description is going to contain a string view description here. So now we have an add detail for a location and then a detail for a description. And basically what's that gonna do is it's basically gonna call append message and it's gonna call fmt format in here, and it's gonna basically say in function online, yeah, let's say in function online that, and then we have function and line. Then we have an add description. It's also gonna call append message for fmt format, and this is gonna tell here. Yeah, maybe I wanna. Do I wanna allow multi-line descriptions? I think not. Cause. I will add a cause why it has been caused. At description is basically what happened. So actually I think I can just pass that on for now. But what I want to do is I want to add a reason. So I want to add a reason why something happened. And this is basically gonna say caused by, of course with fmt format, so caused by the description on what happened. So that's the idea. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm providing multiple constructors that are gonna be able to call these member functions. There's gonna be a constructor that has a, first of all I wanna start all of them with function. Actually, let's make this a const char pointer. Why did I do this? Actually, we can even do this as a string view. That would be way more beneficial because it would allow more usages of it. So if we have a function and an int line, and then I want to have something, basically I want to have it without anything, then I'm going to have a what failed and a why failed. These are the three implementations that I want to have. Yeah, I changed this to string view. Let's quickly add these in here as implementations. And basically, if I don't have any informations, I'm basically gonna say add description, exception failed. Then I'm gonna say add location, function and line, because that's the minimal information that I need for an exception. Then I have the option to have more reasons about that with a what. So instead of an exception failed, I'm actually, maybe I do add multiple description. I'm going to say exception failed, and I'm going to say a what happened. And then we're going to have another one with a why. And then we do it like that. And then we can say add reason with why. So then we have a bit of information on how kind of like this is all laid out and built together into one message. And since this is all a stream by line with the function calls, it will all go through the append message function, which will as well log all the details that happened to SPD log in the console. And now we can construct exceptions. Now, of course, these exceptions need to be made a bit more accessible. So define D3D12Ez exception, and then I can basically create it like that. And then we're going to have multiple specializations, V and double Y. So what and why as a specialization, what and what Y. And these will basically go to D3's. These exceptions, exception here, function, just function like that. Seems like it, no, double underscore. Yeah, correct. Line, and this is the basic specialization, without a semicolon, of course. And why? Well, what is wrong currently with my keyboard? I'm pressing Control and it's not taking it. Hello. What's wrong with my control? Something is wrong with my keyboard or something. It's now failing hard, or is it Visual Studio? Let's restart Visual Studio. Key test, let's see. Is it stuck? No, it's just telling me which key I already pressed. But it seems good, right? It's detecting these. So it is a Visual Studio problem, but this should then be resolved by restart, right? Let's see if it now works. Like that. Yeah, that looks better. That looks way better. I don't know. It really did not take any of my control keys. What? With what? And why? What I also want to have is, yeah, I think it's okay. These are enough to basically define these, what and why. And yeah, now we can actually already see how this works. Now what I want to do is I want to do a check. D3D12Ez check. And the D3D12Ez check is gonna contain an expression. And that's the most simplest version of using it. And how does a check work? A check works by checking. Or actually, first of all, let's go into util and let's add a helpers.h. Let's do a hashtag define D312Ez macro code block, so that we can do code while 0. This is kind of like a macro block, how you can do code in every reason with a macro. And this needs to be included, so hashtag include util helper.h. Then we can say this is a code block, and inside of that code block we're gonna put some code. So we're gonna say if expression, or actually if not expression, so if the check fails, or maybe if the expression fails, we're gonna go in here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw a single W exception with the message in here, or with the what in here, and the what is gonna be macro check failed. And this is basically the idea here. And what I also want to do is I want to add a WF call to it. Or do we want to add a WF call? Actually, I do want to... yeah, macro check failed. Okay, I think it's okay. We can define another one. Macro check failed with a description. And I have another... my controller failed again? No, now it's back again. Okay. So we can have a description defined in here. And if we have a description, we're going to feed the description in here. And what I also tend to do is I tend to also have these with formatting available. So I have a fmt or a f string and arguments. Then I can pass them to fmt format with the f string and the args, variadic arguments. And this gives us yeah, a bit of control on how we can do checks in the memory. All right. And this is now a bit of boilerplate code for exceptions. We can quickly put an exception in here to check that these are working. Basically what I want to do is I want to now also include util isException. And then I can say D3's mcheck. Now, how did I call that? Just check. Check. Yeah, check. Here, let's maybe. Oh, do I have the wrong macro here? How D3Ez without another D. This is how I keep my code organized. And D3DEs is about D3DEs is better, but it's not good to kind of like speak. D3Es check with a description. I want to check for false, which will never succeed, and then we'll tell code was not implemented beyond. So everything below here, a code implemented beyond is unsafe. Is unsafe. So there we go. Now if I compile it, the code is going to crash, but we're going to at least get logging. You can see it's going to crash because we have an exception in here. However, if we are taking a look at the console, we are getting an error that we also get a D3Ez exception. Exception failed. Code is implemented beyond is unsafe in function main on line 40. So we already get the exception information in here, but now the application crashed. And that's good because that's important. And if we would look at our log that has been created, everything in here is as well. So even if the application crashes with an exception because it has no handler, it's still going to emit these issues. And the exception ID is also in here. If I would throw multiple, it would work. And then, yeah, I'm going to go out of it. And that's actually okay. Code implemented beyond is unsafe, and it's unsafe because my computer nearly crashed when I tested it here. I still hope that my record is still working. Right. Now we need a bit more specialization of the exception. And we're going to have an HR exception for H results. Now again, here we're going to include util helper, and we're going to include util not HR exception, is exception, because it's our base class. Then we're going to say namespace D3Ez. Then we're going to have a class HR HR exception. So public is exception. Exceptions? Why did I use a plural? Because my save didn't work and I press Ctrl S. Let's remove the damn. That is not how I intended to do it. Yeah, of course, this is now taking quite some time. I should have used this Visual Assist for that actually, because Visual Assist would have been able to do that. Why didn't I saw that? Visual Assist would be way better to have been used for that kind of task. But sometimes you also need to do things manual. I think this was the last one, right? Yeah, okay. Only thing that's missing here is actually this HDA STD exception. I forgot that. Public STD exception. And then we can go to implement virtual method. That one. Down here. Wherever you put it here, it shall be there. And then we return message z-string. Nice. And the HR exception is actually quite simple. I'm not gonna allow a default construction here. Everything else is already implemented by the other side, and what I only allow here is the is exception requires basically that signature. However, the what is going to be H result failed, And then we're gonna add a bit of more information on there. Actually, I don't know. I want to have complete custom flow. I'm gonna have that exact signature plus age result y. And the age result is of course required. So let's add a win.age inside of my util. And let's define no min max and then include windows.h in here. And now the HR exception can also include win.h, and now the age result should be good. And this is the only thing that I need to implement here. Everything else is already implemented. That's the only way that I need to do it. And then I can go in here and I can provide myself the template that I've used here. So instead of exception, actually exception failed. It's actually wrong. It would be exception occurred. Occurred. Is that written correctly? No. Exception occurred. Exception occurred, alright. And yeah, what I want to do in here is, I'm not going to say exception, let's say exception occurred, WinRP, age result, WinRP call failed, age result was not okay. And then is the description what has been done and where it has been done, and now is the reason. And the reason is actually now, let's keep it in here. Let's keep the reason in here and let's make a protected std string win error to string age result ec for error code, and that's the win error to string function. That's going to convert the error code to a string. And I'm basically gonna put the y inside the win error to string. And then I'm gonna have an std string error string for code unknown. What I'm gonna return is fmt format. I'm gonna return the actual error string for code here. And then I'm going to return the value of the exception. It's the error string for code, and then the error code, but the error code needs to be converted to a U-in32T. It is not a U-in32T, so I'll convert it to that so that it's automatically deduced and correctly displayed by FMT. And then we have it formatted. Now the only thing that I need to do is here, the message to be translated. We basically do this by providing a char pointer win message, and if a certain WinRP call is correct, then error string can be equal win message, and win message can be local freed here, and this call must not be 0. Format message A is the call. I do never know these flags. Know that I can specify all of these the correct way. The flags, I need to look them up. Something like that. What is that for a call? Peak definition, message ID, language ID. Then there's the buffer, and then the size and arguments. So size is, since we're going to have it allocated, yeah, this is a pointer to the win message, 0 and null pointer. Now we just need the flags. I can't remember these. So let's take a look at this. Allocate buffer is the first one that we need. Then we say from system, wrong IDE. Then we say ignore inserts. And we say max with mask. These are all the flags that we need to specify these, and then we have the message correctly formatted, and we added a bit of information in here. Alright, so now in the main we can try out if this is also working. Let's include the HR exception. Currently we don't have even the check for HR exceptions. Something that we need to do. Let's define a hashtag define HR. Well, yeah, let's steal it from the ease exception. In general, actually I want to have two versions. The what should also be omittable. There we go. Okay, we remove that what here. But we do not never have a y because it is now a HR exception, a H result, or a win. Let's call it win exception. No, it's called HR, so let's call it HR exception. So we have the EC and the EC what. These are the specifications that work. EC what EC. All right, and then we're gonna hashtag define D3Es check HR for check H result and check H result D and F. These are the three things that we need to do. Description from F string and variadic arguments. And this is D3E's macro code block again in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to define H result underscore D3E's check HR equals EC. Actually, no, this is not even an error code. This is actually an expression. We don't want to specify that it's an expression. I was a bit confused now. It's going to be the failed, or yeah, like not the failed, but the expression of that error, the result code of that expression. And then we're going to check if that failed, that error code. And if that error code failed, we're going to throw an exception with the error code that we just checked if it has failed. That's the idea. And this is to be copied a few times. And the only thing that we're going to do here is we're going to provide a description. And in this case, we're going to provide an FMT format of the F string and the arguments. All right. Why is that no longer working? Okay, because the macro is not updated. There we go. And now what I want to do is I want to check an H result with a description. I want to first check S OK so that I can check that everything works. And I want to say example. No, this is not working. Why is it not working? Did I... Wait. Ah, yeah, that's the wrong. That's the wrong one. Okay. Not that one. No. HR. Naughties. This should make it work. Yeah. Now we should get the code implemented beyond this unsafe. Yeah, that's right. We get that message. And if I set this to E out of memory, for example, we should get a message that we are out of memory. No, I didn't want to expand that. Wanted to expand these. Here you can see exception occurred when API called fade, else result was not okay. In function main on line 40, caused by not enough memory resources are available to complete this operation. And then we also get the hexadecimal representation of the error code. And you can see basically what has gone wrong. When API call was failed, and I do maybe wanna specify this a bit better. Failed. Dash H result was not successful. Something like that. I probably wrote that wrong. H result call was not successful, so that you know what happened. And now we have a good old and modular exception system up and running. We can always take the base is exception, and is exception has these like add detail functions that allow you to compose the details from like description, location, and reason. And if you have multiple reasons, you can say like reason caused by, and you have kind of like a caused by chain that you could specify. Do we need them? Maybe we need them, especially like if we are maybe getting to compiler errors and stuff like that, and maybe chained exceptions is a thing that might be also something that potentially is something that was just implementable. But chained exceptions are a bit harder because you would need to save every line. And need to do line decomposition and line compositions and stuff like that, but that's something that we don't want to do yet. Maybe there's a way to implement a proper exception library in the future, but not here for that. This is already way enough for ease, but infrastructure is important. That's actually everything that I need to do for infrastructure. Util, exceptions, logging, important, very important for everything that we're going to transition our code to. Alright, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video where we probably gonna rewrite our device context. Maybe? Do we want to rewrite the device context? Let's see. Let's see how far I want to rewrite them, or if I want to... No, I think I probably want to first add the shader compilation stuff before I want to rewrite code bases so that the application is at least running and we can see it work. Alright, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.